Good afternoon. My name is Paula Carey, and I'm the Chief Justice of the Trial Court in Massachusetts, and I'd love to welcome you to our virtual town hall in Holyoke. We're delighted to be here. I hope you will enjoy today's presentations. You're going to hear about the trial court, but you're also going to hear from community providers. Because in order to deliver justice within our communities, we work hand in hand to ensure that all persons not only receive justice, but also get access to the services that they need. This is our 6th town hall that we have done across the Commonwealth. We have done virtual town hall events in Chelsea, Lawrence, Brockton, Springfield, and Worcester. And in the upcoming weeks, we plan to be in Barnstable and Taunton. It's really been a terrific opportunity to really let the public know just what we do in the trial court, and also to ensure that you get the information and are able to access the resources that you need. I was struck, as I was thinking about and speaking with staff about, so what's unique about Holyoke? And much to my surprise, something I didn't know. I didn't know that Holyoke was the birthplace of volleyball, and that there is actually a Hall of Fame in Holyoke, which is wonderful. I'm going to have to make sure that when I get out to Holyoke the next time, as long as it's open, that I can take advantage of that. And also, I wasn't aware that the St. Patrick's Day is the 2nd largest in the United States after New York City, which is also an interesting tidbit. And that Holyoke initially started with large amounts of Irish Americans and has now transitioned significantly to a very large Hispanic American population, which is terrific. And it's also why we are having this interpreted. So this is being broadcast both in English and in Spanish, so that our Spanish-speaking folks have the ability to take part in this event as well. So there's great pride, I know, in the city of Holyoke and its surrounding areas. There's a great deal of cooperation between agencies and the business communities. I know that the poverty level is quite high in Holyoke, which is why we want to dedicate a fair amount of resources there, and that crime rates are high as well. So making sure that you all know, those of you who are tuning in and listening, know what kinds of opportunities you have with the trial court. You're going to receive not only website information, but also telephone information. So we're here to help you. We know that lots is going on in our communities. We've recently had an uptick in COVID positive tests, and are just a reminder to all to ensure that you keep yourselves and your families safe. And it really is all about all of us trying to help keep each other safe. We have a hashtag mock-up in the trial court, which is, I'm masking up for you, which I think is appropriate for most folks. So rather than me go on and on, I just, again, wanted to briefly address all of you and welcome you to this Holyoke virtual town hall, and to thank you for coming. And please know that the trial court's here to provide assistance to you and to deliver justice to the communities and the members of the community that we serve. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over to our fabulous first judge in the Holyoke District Court, and that is Judge William Hadley. Judge Hadley.
Thank you, Judge Carey, and thank you for your great leadership at this difficult time. My name's William Hadley. As Judge Carey said, I'm the first justice of the Holyoke District Court. First of all, I want to just try to express to everyone how that's watching this virtual town hall how proud I am to even play a small role in the life of this community. Like many other cities in Massachusetts, Holyoke has its challenges, and now we're all collectively dealing with COVID-19. But I just want people to know over the years, both as a judge and in other work I've done in Holyoke, I've always been so impressed with the number of people I've met who just love this city. Just as Carrie talked about pride, I'm reminded of people like the late Marty Dunn, who was always ready to roll up his sleeves and get to work whenever there's an opportunity to help someone else and to bring about positive change in what was his hometown. So today you're going to hear from a few more of these dedicated people. For time constraints, there's only a few, but there are many more in this community who are willing to help and look to for services, guidance. In addition to several judges and some court officials, you'll be receiving what I hope will be valuable information about services that are still available to address housing needs, substance use issues, COVID, and the like here in Holyoke. So I will start with first telling you what the Holyoke District Court is doing to deal with this COVID-19 situation. First of all, I want to assure everyone we are completely focused on safety, both for our employees and for the public. We've been following directions from Judge Carey and the trial court, who have retained experts in various fields. Everyone who comes to court is screened before they're allowed to come into the building. Temperatures are taken. If there's anything that might indicate a concern or a danger, people just aren't allowed into the building. And that goes for not only members of the public, but also attorneys, court employees, and judges. And everyone who comes into our courthouse has to wear a mask. We've also placed limits on the number of people allowed in the building at any one time, how many people can be in any one courtroom. We very actively are, through our court officers, enforce social distancing. We've installed hand sanitizer dispensers, plexiglass shields throughout the courthouse. We've also made changes in the way we handle criminal and civil cases. Really unlike any time before, much of our work is being done virtually, either by telephone or by video conference, usually like this, using Zoom. A number of things are being handled in person. I'll go over those briefly. In person, we are handling abuse prevention and harassment prevention hearings where there are two parties. Initial complaints where people are seeking protection, just one person, are done over the phone, but second, any subsequent hearings are usually done in person. Motions to suppress evidence, where people want to try to resolve their cases through a tender of a plea. We're doing those generally in person. When people have substance use disorders, they might be in danger, family members asking for commitment, potentially. We do those in the courthouse in person, although witnesses are allowed to testify remotely by video as well. Where people are suffering from mental illness, and again, they may be in danger and there might be a need for a commitment. If there's a hearing, we're doing those by video conference, in part where the individual, the patient is at the hospital, and others, lawyers, clinicians, doctors are testifying remotely. We are not able to schedule any jury trials, but we are doing trials, what are called bench trials, trials by a judge, if parties wish. Again, if the defendant agrees, we can do that by video conference. And we really hope that we're back up conducting jury trials by next spring. A couple other things, people can come into the courthouse to pay fines, fees if they wish. They're allowed to come in if there's a warrant for such things. They can come in to clear that up. We are doing arraignments in person, other than when people are held. Sometimes they are at the House of Correction, and we arrange by video for the accused person to be connected by Zoom with a lawyer, with the judge. Everyone can be seen and heard, and we really thank Sheriff Kochi for helping to facilitate that. Again, an effort to keep everybody safe. On civil matters, We are now allowed to accept summary process complaints for filing. There was a moratorium on that. That has ended. We've invited Judge Kane from the Housing Court to talk about that in a few minutes. Most other civil matters are being conducted by telephone or by video. Things like wage attachments, restraining orders, case management conferences, all those sorts of things. We're not allowed to conduct civil trials in person yet, but if there were a request for a civil bench trial, we can do that by video conference. And it's not something I ever thought I would be doing, but it does work. And we do our best to make sure everyone's rights are protected when we do that. We're really doing our best to make sure that all of these hearings, by the way, can be accessed by the public. And there are phone numbers available through our clerk's office if people wish to listen in or even view court proceedings from home, so that these are not closed, they're open and in the public. Just to wrap up, I would say the Holyoke District Court is open for business. We're doing our best, as I said, to make sure everyone's safe. We are trying to reduce the number of people in the building. We're doing things, again, by remotely to help ensure safety. I will say scheduling all of these activities by video or by phone is not always easy. It requires a lot of hard work, particularly by our clerk's office. So I hope everyone will be patient with us. Everyone's been cooperative, and we have delays sometimes, but with your patience and cooperation, we're moving as well as we can through this difficult time. I'm now going to turn things over to our great clerk magistrate, Manuel Matino. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Hadley. Probably the most important piece of information you'll receive from me today is the clerk's office email address. So let me give you that now. It's cmholyokedc@jud.state.ma.us. It's also listed on the attachment to this presentation. I can assure you that I have several staff members assigned all day to monitor and respond to email questions. So you'll get a response from the clerk's office generally within 24 hours, if not within the same business day. My staff reviewing email questions are fluent in Spanish, so we will respond in Spanish where appropriate. When sending a question about a specific case, please include in your email the docket number assigned to that case, your name, and a phone number to reach you if we need to get more information about your case. If you have an urgent or emergency matter, please be sure to add that to your email so that we know to respond as quickly as possible. If you need a copy of something in your case file, like the docket sheet or disposition sheet for employment applications or for any other reason, simply send us an email requesting what you need and we will respond. The Massachusetts trial courts have also established a helpline that you can call to ask general questions about cases and get help navigating the court system. The phone number is 1-833-91-COURT or 1-833-912-6878. The helpline is staffed between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Fridays, and Spanish and Portuguese interpreters are available to respond to your questions. As needed by the Holyoke District Court for court sessions, whether in person or virtually, interpreters are available to individuals by phone, conference phone, video conference with Polycom, WebEx, or Zoom, and in person at the court. More information about the helpline and interpreter services can be found online at the link provided at the end of this presentation. Persons who have been assessed fees, fines, or court costs in a criminal matter that are due between March 18th of this year and October 31st of this year have been delayed. So those payments have been delayed until November 1st of 2020. Beginning November 1st, which is only 3 days from now, you may make your payment that is due in person or online by using the ePay portal that is accessible at www.masscourts.org. If for whatever reason you're having trouble accessing the ePay portal, or do not have access to the portal, please email us and we'll call you to help you access the portal or make other arrangements to receive payment without having to appear at court. Instructions for using ePay are provided in the attachment to this presentation. If you have a warrant issued against you, you must come into court to have the warrant removed. It's one of the few in-person matters where you are allowed access to the building. If practicable, please call or email the clerk's office before coming in to address your warrant so that we'll be in a better position to prepare and have your case heard when you come in. With respect to small claims matters, we are not scheduling in-person hearings or trials. However, if both parties agree, we can conduct a small claims trial or motion to be heard by an assistant clerk magistrate virtually, either by Zoom or telephonically. If you're interested in a virtual session, you should first make contact with the other party in your case to see if he or she would agree to a virtual session. If both of you agree, just send us an email with the names of the parties, the docket number, and the fact that both of you would like the matter to be heard virtually, and we'll arrange for that to be done. We can also give you information to have your small claims matter scheduled for a virtual mediation session with a mediator if both parties agree. Again, simply email us your request to have the matter scheduled virtually for mediation and that all parties have agreed to it. With respect to civil motor vehicle citations, we are not scheduling in-person hearings for those matters as of today. However, if you have paid your $25 filing fee to the Registry of Motor Vehicles and have requested a hearing to contest a citation issued by the Holyoke Police Department or the Mass State Police and wish for that hearing to be heard virtually, again, send us an email request and we'll arrange for that to be heard virtually. With respect to criminal show cause hearings, for example, where the police have not arrested you but are seeking a criminal complaint to issue against you for a relatively minor charge, or if a private person wants a criminal charge to issue against you for a minor charge, we will schedule an in-person hearing to determine if a criminal complaint should issue against you. The hearing is confidential. It's held in a hearing room where we all wear masks and are positioned to maximize social distancing, and we limit the number of participants at one time to less than 4 people. If after the show cause hearing, the assistant clerk magistrate finds that a complaint should issue, then you will be given an option of either going to an arraignment before a judge on the charges immediately that day, and that's just to avoid having you to come back to another court date for an arraignment, or we can have the arraignment scheduled for another date in the near future if you wish to have your attorney, to hire your own attorney, and you need time to do that. That is the current state of matters being heard virtually or in person at the Holyoke District Court. So if you have some other matter that you'd like to file or have heard that has not been addressed by me or Judge Hadley, please send us an email and we'll assist you in addressing your matter as soon as possible, either in person or virtually. That's all from the Holyoke District Court Clerk Magistrate's Office at this time. I will now introduce our next speaker, Chief Probation Officer of the Holyoke District Court, Sean McBride.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you, Chief Justice Carey and the trial court for putting on this important presentation so that we can get this vital information out to the community. Just really briefly, I will echo the comments made by Judge Hadley and Clerk Montino that the Holyoke District Court Probation Department is open for business. And although it's a different, reality than what we are used to, we are in the office. We are able to provide information to probationers, to victims, and to the general public concerning probation-related matters. There are some matters that we are able to handle in person: violation of probation arraignments, violation of probation warrant removals, violation of probation hearings, and as well as being able to troubleshoot a lot of GPS, electronic monitoring, and alcohol monitoring device troubleshooting. Those matters can be generally handled in person. There are a number of matters that we can handle over the phone. At the end of this presentation, you will be provided a number and my personal email address at the trial court so that you may contact us with any questions, comments, or concerns that you have. And I can trust you and tell you that that information will be answered in a relatively short period of time. As far as for members of the public that are looking for information concerning their records and sealing records, there are forms available online to file a petition to seal an individual's record. If you have trouble accessing those forms online, you can certainly reach out to me via email, provide your name, address, and we will forward those forms out to you. That may be some time before your hearing is scheduled in court, but there are some matters that you may be able to directly seal through the Office of the Commissioner of Probation. So if you have any questions concerning sealing your records, certainly feel free to reach out to us and we can provide you with information concerning that. And lastly, I'll just tell you that we are fortunate enough in the city of Holyoke and in Western Massachusetts to have a specialty court session. The Western Mass Veterans Treatment Court meets every Wednesday. We are currently accepting referrals for the Veterans Treatment Court. If you are a veteran and you have a criminal case and it's something that you wish to explore, certainly reach out to your attorney and they can certainly reach out to me and we can ensure that a referral is made and provide any information concerning the court session as possible. If you have a loved one who is criminal justice involved and has had prior military service and you think that it might be appropriate for them, certainly reach out to me and I can provide you with information concerning our Veterans Treatment Court, and you can either forward that to them or to their attorney. So again, just to reiterate, we are open for business. Please feel free to reach out to the contact information that will be provided at the close of my presentation, and we will happily assist you with any matters, probation related or otherwise, that we can help you out with. To that end, I will pass it off to Judge Lois Eaton from the Juvenile Court Department to give updates on that.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks to Judge Hadley for inviting me to join the presentation today. Briefly, we are in a similar situation as the District Court in Holyoke. Our Holyoke Courthouse is open to the public, but we have a very robust method of contacting folks through email, through telephone, and creating Zoom chats and Zoom meetings and Zoom hearings, much like the district court. For those of you who are not familiar with what happens in the juvenile court, our court has jurisdiction over delinquency cases, children who require assistance, child abuse and neglect cases, which are called care and protection cases. If you have or if you are seeking a harassment prevention order where the defendant, the person who you are complaining about, is a juvenile, you do that in the juvenile court. And we also hear petitions regarding juveniles who have substance use problems and the parents might be seeking an evaluation or a commitment for treatment. Those are generally the urgent emergency type matters that we hear. And there are some specifics about the Holyoke Juvenile Court that I want to make clear. For all matters, you should contact the Holyoke Juvenile Court Clerk Magistrate's Office. I do have their phone number and email contact for you, but you should try to reach out before you head down to the courthouse. The clerk can assist you filling out paperwork remotely, and many matters can be addressed and you can be given guidance and direction without having to head down to the courthouse in person. Delinquency cases, which are criminal cases for juveniles, I'm going to focus on what happens if your child is arrested, because I think that that's important for parents to know. If your child is arrested during the day on criminal charges, the juvenile court generally conducts arraignments directly from the police stations via Zoom. We do have a process set up for attorneys to be appointed and meet with your child securely and remotely. They also would include parents in that conversation, and that would be made available to you. If you receive notice by mail that your child is facing criminal charges, we ordinarily conduct arraignments remotely, although we do also make arrangements for in-person arraignments if that's what folks are requesting. Most parents and children we're finding are content with the remote process and would rather do it that way. But we do have the capacity to do in-person arraignments, but understand that even if your child is involved criminally in Holyoke, the juvenile court in Springfield is the only court that is doing in-person hearings. So we would have to set a Holyoke matter up for hearing in Springfield. In either situation, you would call the clerk magistrate's office to get guidance. If your child is arrested and held overnight, we can bring them into court the next day for arraignment, or they can be arraigned remotely from the Department of Youth Services detention facility. If your child is arrested and held overnight, when they arrive at DYS, they are assigned a clinician, and that clinician will assist your child right then and there of getting on the telephone to you and letting you know that they are okay and giving you the opportunity to speak with your child. If your child appears in court remotely and then is released from DYS, currently the process is for parents to pick them up at the DYS detention facility. And I have provided a phone number that will make sure you know which facility your child is at. Some of those circumstances where parents cannot obtain transportation, those would be the types of cases where the child would be arraigned before the court to give you easier access to picking up your child after the hearing. But I want to stress that all of our in-person matters, including arraignments, are in the Springfield Juvenile Court on State Street in Springfield. Similarly, if you have a child, usually an adolescent, who's breaking the rules, out of control, you can't seem to get them to obey your commands at home, you can seek a child requiring assistance petition. Again, those can be handled remotely, or you can come in person to talk with a clerk and a probation officer. But you should contact the court first before you head down to the courthouse, because we can do all of these forms and all of the conversations before you actually have to come in person. And if you prefer that, we certainly have the means to do that. And if there is an emergency where you're requesting that your child be removed from your home, the judge will hear your petition on an emergency basis. Again, if it's in person, it would be in Springfield. If it's remote, any judge can hear it. If you are being harassed by a juvenile and you're in fear, you would contact the juvenile court to file a harassment complaint. We have been doing those emergency hearings by Zoom or telephone as well. And of course, we can schedule those for in-person hearings if need be. Same thing, if your child is abusing substances and you're very concerned, you feel like they might need to be hospitalized because of the severity, we have remote interviews by court clinicians to figure out what the situation is and schedule an emergency hearing. Your child would be given an attorney for all case types, not just the delinquency matters. And if you need an in-person hearing for that emergency substance abuse petition, we can arrange that, but it would be in Springfield. If your children are removed by the state, by the Department of Children and Families, you are entitled to an emergency custody hearing within 72 hours. We appoint attorneys immediately upon the filing of those petitions. And you certainly would want to reach out to the clerk magistrate's office, both for information of your emergency hearing date and also your attorney information, so we can connect you with your attorney as soon as possible. Most of those hearings are conducted via Zoom. We have a very good system for that, including separating out attorney conference rooms for you to meet with your attorney via Zoom through the court's technology. And finally, I provided some numbers. If you believe a child is being abused or neglected, I've put the DCF contact information and the DCF hotline for overnight reporting. And those are essentially the things that are most urgent for families to pay attention to in the juvenile court. I believe, so I thank you for having me, and I'm going to turn things over to the first justice of the housing court, Judge Jonathan Kane.
Thank you, Judge Eaton. And thanks to Judge Hadley for including the housing court in this important presentation today. The housing court's a statewide court that covers every community in Massachusetts. Cases arising from Holyoke are heard in our Springfield courthouse, although for the time being, almost all of our cases are being heard remotely. We're open for business every day of the week, and although you may come to the clerk's office in person, we encourage people to call or email or go to our virtual courthouse link by Zoom, and that'll be included at the end of the presentation. Today, I want to focus your attention on the eviction process. Both the housing court and the Holyoke District Court can hear eviction cases, but the procedures are essentially the same. Each of these courts has issued orders that describe their procedures, and those orders can be found on www.mass.gov. You're probably aware that most evictions in Massachusetts have been prohibited since April due to COVID-19. But as of October 17th, last week, that prohibition was lifted, and there is no longer any state law or order banning eviction. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has, however, issued an order that does remain in place through December, and that order does protect some residential tenants from evictions based on non-payment of rent. The CDC order does not apply to commercial properties, and it does not protect all landlords or tenants, and so I recommend anyone interested in learning more about that CDC order go to the Housing Court website at www.mass.gov. Or contact the Court Service Center in Springfield, or reach out to any other agency that assists tenants and landlords. I want to point out two things that are important to know, however, about the CDC order as it relates to evictions. First, for tenants to take advantage of the protections of the order, they have to provide a written statement under oath that they qualify for protection. And second, for a landlord to move forward with the eviction case, the landlord has to file a specific form with the court confirming that they did not receive such a statement from their tenants. As I said, the CDC order is complicated, and I strongly advise anyone interested to take time to learn about how and whether it applies to your situation. A lot of people want to know how fast the eviction process is going to happen now that the state law banning evictions has ended. So in housing court, we have about 750 cases that were pending when the law prohibiting evictions went into effect. So we are just now beginning to catch up on this backlog, and new cases are going to be scheduled only after we clear the pending cases. We're going to be hearing eviction cases every day of the week, but even so, there are thousands of cases in the line. So the first court appearances for new cases may take weeks. And given the amount of time that it's likely to take before your case gets to court, the parties should find that they have a window of opportunity to apply for financial assistance that will hopefully resolve many of these cases. I cannot stress strongly enough how important it is to get started early in applying for rental assistance funds. The governor has earmarked a lot of money for rental assistance, and the applications are being taken now. If you get your application in right away, you may be able to avoid court altogether, or even if you're in court, you may be able to resolve your case quickly, given any approval that you've received for financial assistance. There's no reason that anyone needs to wait to be in court before seeking these funds. Tenants should be applying immediately, and landlords should understand that their best chance of getting the back rent that they are owed is to work with the tenant to get this financial assistance. Almost all of these programs pay the landlord directly and in a lump sum, so both landlords and tenants share the goal of getting through the application process quickly. If you are in the process of applying for funds when your court date is scheduled, no need to panic. Every case is first getting assigned to a mediator, and that mediator will talk to the parties to find out what has been done to resolve their dispute. So if there's an application in process, there'll be an opportunity to discuss that and ideally reach a resolution that serves both parties before you end up in front of a judge. I'm going to end my talk here, but I want to give everyone the opportunity one more time, to encourage everybody to look for funds now, to start applying early in this process and not to wait till you're in court. To give you a little bit more information on the process of seeking rental assistance, I'm going to introduce now John Fisher from Wayfinders.
I couldn't have asked for a better lead-in. Thank you, Justice Kane. You want to go around in front of me and do this regularly? This is wonderful. Wayfinders is a regional nonprofit which handles two particular programs. The RAFT program, which people may have had some background with already, and also something called the Emergency Rental and Mortgage Assistance Program, IRMA. Basically, the RAFT program, which is rental assistance for families in transition, essentially, first of all, it can address people who are having trouble with their rent, with their mortgage, and people up to 50% of area median income. And by the way, the first takeaway here is area median income is probably higher than you think it is. A lot of times people will say, well, I wouldn't qualify. You quite likely might. It's for, again, rental arrearages, certain other things. It can include last month's rent security deposit, moving costs if you're transitioning from one apartment to another, utility bills, any number of things of that nature. And again, the program covers both renters and also people, homeowners, property owners for up to 4 family owner-occupied buildings. The IRMA program, which is a newer program, Emergency Rental and Mortgage Assistance, covers up to 80% of area median income. So there's a very high window. This could help a lot of people, number one. Number two, if someone has had some experience with the program in the past, don't necessarily judge the program by what happened then. First of all, the process is being streamlined, and that's really very necessary because there's been a huge upswing, obviously, in people needing assistance with COVID. So the process is different now. It's largely done online. You apply through Wayfinders, www.wayfinders.org. And you essentially go to wayfinders.org/apply financial assistance. It's a very easy click when you get there. And you can really start the process online, number one. Number two, and this is also a major difference from the old RAFT program, a number of things which in the past you had to get documentation for, you can now self-certify for. So again, it becomes much more of an online process. Wayfinders, very much like the courts, is, although parts of it are physically open, a lot of us are working online, working virtually. The process is largely an online process. You don't have to come down, stand in line to be able to get into the program. The other quick takeaway is to understand that in the old days, you had to go through a class, you had to sign up for it and so forth. Again, this is largely online. It should go through hopefully much faster than it has in the past. Number two, with the new program that's just been brought out, the Eviction Diversion Initiative, several things have changed. The maximum benefit is now $10,000 of help, not $4,000. So there's possibility of more help, or even if you had help under the program, being able to come back for additional help. Also, again, the old program, you used to have to be essentially to the stage where for a tenant, they'd receive the summons to come to court for being evicted for non-payment of rent. At this point, it's merely that you need the help with your rent or your mortgage. So the program has changed a great deal. Help is available. It will take some time. So I encourage you to start as soon as possible. I'm just echoing Justice Kane here, that the sooner you get into it, the sooner you start the process, the sooner help can be given both to the tenant and to the landlord, and certainly as well to the mortgage holder. And just one final thing very briefly, if you have questions about the program, Wayfinders, if you call 413-233-1600, just the Wayfinders number, there will be people there who can answer questions about the program. We also can provide counseling about people's rights on issues like fair housing, rental issues, and so forth. We do understand, please, we do not have attorneys available for you. Now, you want to talk to community legal assistance on that, or possibly our partner in the Fair Housing Program, the Massachusetts Fair Housing Center, but we can help to at least direct you to where you can get help and make you aware of what some of your rights are. There's a lot more, but again, just the real takeaway is if you have questions, call. If you are at all behind in your rent or your mortgage, start the application now, because it will take some time, but help can quite likely be there. And also I should really mention, by the way, some of the other programs, such as the rental assistance program we run, has also been making some changes which will reflect the new situation, the new reality we all live in. So having gone through that real quickly, I have the pleasure actually of turning you over to the Executive Director of the Holyoke Housing Authority, Matthew Mainville.
John, much appreciated. We here at the Housing Authority have wayfinders on speed dial because they are such a community asset. So we appreciate what you do for folks here in Holyoke. I also appreciate the opportunity to participate in this important meeting. And I appreciate the fact that it is formed in a holistic way where we have the justice system, but also those of us that help support that particular system. So thank you to those who organized this particular meeting. The Holyoke Housing Authority had been deemed well, not the Housing Authority just in Holyoke, but housing authorities across the Commonwealth had been deemed essential by the governor early on in this COVID process. So the Housing Authority has been open and will continue to be open through this pandemic. Just like everybody else, we have kind of modified the platform by which we are providing our services. We have gone to a virtual world. We have put in physical modifications to our building to allow the submission of paperwork. And so we're making every effort to make sure that we are open to business as normally as we can be. We are doing rent adjustments for our wait lists. I think it's important that folks know that our wait lists are available and are open for applications. Although there is a long lead time, we are actively accepting applications. We have some homelessness initiatives that we run here at the Housing Authority that are important, particularly during this COVID. We understand that that's important, that people have housing to avoid the transmission of this disease. So, we are making sure that we are accommodating our residents as best we can. Not unlike many of the court situations, we are on a case-by-case basis having face-to-face meetings here at the Housing Authority if deemed necessary. But again, I think echoing what we've heard already is that we are following the most stringent CDC guidelines as possible to make sure that we are protecting our employees, but also protecting our clients. Again, I won't go on too long, but one of the things that I do want to make sure that we do touch upon is that the importance, as Judge Kane had said, that we work in tandem with our residents to make sure that tenant and landlord are working together to resolve issues. That's been our modus operandi for years, but it's even more important during this COVID process. As was mentioned, the eviction moratorium on the state side ended, but the CDC has come through and is covering folks through the end of December. At the end of my presentation, we did provide the information for community legal aid. We think that that is also another resource we're working closely with. So we have their webpage and phone number at the end of the presentation. So please take an opportunity, because the CDC regulations is a little bit tricky, a little bit more cumbersome than just the straight ban that was provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In addition to John, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but because the governor was so generous in providing these rental assistance pots of money, there is another source of that particular funding. Valley Opportunity Council receives some monies to be able to also assist residents. I think that you know, through both what Wayfinders does on a day-to-day basis, and particularly during this time, and Valley Opportunity Council, you know, I think that there is assistance out there. I think it's also important to mention that, you know, because of the eviction moratorium and the CDC guideline doesn't negate somebody's requirement to pay rent, but there's help out there. We're here to facilitate, you know, HolyokeHousing.org is our webpage. We're always able and willing to have conversations with folks. If we don't have the resource, we can clearly help folks find the resource. And our phone number is 413-539-2220. Please take an opportunity to reach out to us. If it's a tenant-landlord related situation, we're here to help. And so, again, I think it's great that we work here in Holyoke with a ton of great groups, Valley Opportunity Council, Wayfinders, but also I think one of our great resources is our Director of the Board of Health, Sean Gonzalez. I think he's going to take an opportunity to talk through some of the things that are available to our residents here in Holyoke. So, Sean.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. You know, at this time, City Hall is closed to the public for in-person services, but we are very much here. You can reach us by phone, by email. You know, there are a variety of ways to get in touch with us. We are still doing inspections, and so sort of to echo some of the other speakers, as they mentioned, access to resources that pertain to housing. Should you need an inspection, either for, you know, a voucher program or because your rental situation has some issues or there are safety issues, we're here. We will still come out. We'll do an inspection. We may ask for a few, you know, additional layers of precaution, which may be, you know, making sure that there is good distancing in the home, that people are wearing masks. People who choose not to wear masks, we may ask to step either onto a porch or into a hallway or outside, because we do have a limited number of inspectors and we do need to protect their safety and well-being as well. But, you know, we're continuing to offer the services that we always have. And, you know, if you have a situation, we don't get into rent or rent modification or arbitration. But regardless of your standing with rent, either if you're unable to pay or you haven't paid due to violations, we'll still come. We'll still do an inspection. We don't get involved in the money side of things. If there are issues at the apartment, at the house, at the condo, call us. We'll take a look. We're not, you know, partisan. If there are, we have a duty to cite violations. So if they exist, we'll be there and make note of it and provide you the correct documentation that you can then take to your landlord, or to the court, or to an arbitrator. You know, leading into that, we do have through the city, not necessarily through the Board of Health, a few things that are in place for resources. I do believe with the moratorium on eviction, there is going to be an uptick in people who have some insecurity as it pertains to housing, and we're working diligently to prepare a response and resources on the city side to try to offset some of the issues that will arise from that, including attempts to put in a drop-in temporary shelter over the winter. So those things are ongoing. Following that, the Holyoke Board of Health is sort of ground zero for COVID response in Holyoke. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have complaints, if you need to get tested and you're not sure where to go, if you're not sure what your test results mean, call us. We're here 5 days a week. We will respond to any call. It doesn't have to be a life or death situation. Many times people just need to understand what they're being told, and we're here to provide clarity. In other cases, you may see something that's concerning. Not everything that appears concerning is something that is, requires action. Sometimes things just are in sort of a gray area, but we're here to sort that out as well. We are the primary source of contact tracing. We work hand in hand with the Contact Tracing Collaborative, which is the state's agency that handles sort of the overflow. So because we are, a limited office, we can only handle so much of the contact tracing. And as case counts increase, which they have been very steadily over the last month, we rely on the Contact Tracing Collaborative to sort of partner with us and do outreach. So if you get a call from the Board of Health or you get a call from the CTC or Contact Tracing Collaborative, we're not looking for financial information. We don't want your social security number. We're not going to take any information that isn't absolutely relevant to stopping the spread. And the information that we ask for, typically name, date of birth, phone number, email, those kind of things, and perhaps that same information of people you were in contact with, if you were sick or you were exposed. That information is just to reach out to folks, let them know what they need to do, answer their questions, and make sure that they don't spread it and that you don't spread it. We're not soliciting anything. We're just trying to identify the people who are affected, get them in touch with services, and make sure that they understand once you're sick, you do have some obligations. You need to stay home. You need to avoid contact even with family members. You need to keep yourself and those around you, loved ones, community members, you need to keep them safe by removing yourself from the equation for a couple of weeks. And so the CTC has a very defined network of resources available. We understand that staying home for 2 weeks is a daunting task, especially if you're a parent or you care for other loved ones that are in your home, you have dependents, and the CTC can get food delivered to your house. They can get your medication delivered. They can have somebody take care of your animals. They can get your mail if you have a PO box. I mean, the level of service they can provide you to help you stay home and isolate or quarantine as necessary is pretty comprehensive. And so answer the phone and we can help you get through this, and we can try to address the concerns you have. We'll work with your employer. We can give you documentation to make sure that you get paid as you should be when you are out. And we really want to make sure that there are no barriers to abiding by these rules that are going to cut down on the spread. And I think that the one major concern we see right now is that in-home spread is really the main issue right now. People are picking it up in their daily life. It's very difficult to determine where somebody gets it unless there's a clear incident. And then they bring it home and it's spread among spouses, it's spread among family members, it's spread among children, it's spread among other members in the household. And so one case turns into 3 cases, turns into 5. And that's why you're seeing this steady growth. So right now through the holidays, please, get tested, even if you don't feel sick. We have 2 free test sites in Holyoke. They're open 6 days a week. There's one at Holyoke Community College, and there's another at 323 Appleton Street. They're there for you. So as long as you're a Mass resident, it's free. There's no insurance necessary, no money necessary. You don't need to have an ID. You just go there. They'll give you a PCR swab, which is the standard COVID test right now. It's non-invasive. It's only in the lower section of the nostril. It's not the old style that went a little bit further into the nose. And you'll get your test results in 4 days. So, please get tested, even if you don't feel sick. Many people don't feel sick and they never know that they have it, but they're still contagious. So even if you feel healthy, even if everyone in your home looks and seems healthy, it might be worth just going down there and getting a test because it's free, it's available, and it could stop people you love from being infected or people you work with. And so, finally, just to get into a little bit of the numbers that you're seeing, we have seen a real serious uptick in cases in Holyoke and in the county. More and more, if you look at the chart that Massachusetts provides metrics, you're seeing a lot more red. It was 4 weeks ago, it was 20 communities, and then 40, and then 63, and now we're at 77. I expect that number to increase next week. And that's reflective of a national issue where we're really seeing a resurgence, a growth, a spike in case counts because people are sort of becoming a little tired of this and they're letting their guard down. And this is not the time. People are going to be stuck inside when it's cold. There's going to be a lot of holiday gatherings, regardless of the guidance to the contrary that sort of says that gatherings are not advisable right now. And so please keep yourself safe. Really take a look at the decisions you make and really be mindful of those that you spend time with and how you choose to spend time. Wear a mask, wash your hands, keep yourself and those around you in your community safe. And so, the final thought is because of our high case counts, Holyoke is taking a step back into phase 3, step 1, and that is in response to the sustained, 3 consecutive weeks of high case counts. We're going to go into 4 weeks of high case counts being in the red, and so there are some reductions in the operations of businesses. And, there are some choices that we're making in the community outside of businesses as it pertains to the expansion of in-person learning, as it pertains to some recreational activities. We're really trying to keep these cases down and keep people safe. So I appreciate your time and please, if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. We want to help you understand what's happening around you. And it's my pleasure to introduce representing the Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative, Deputy Sheriff Ed Case.
Thank you, Sean. Good afternoon, everyone. The Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative is a collaboration of agencies that service Holyoke and is driven by the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. One of the priorities of the Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative is finding resource agencies in the greater community that service folks in Holyoke. We're connected to over 160 service providers, and we want to assist youth, individuals, and families in getting connected to those services. We are currently partnered with the 413 CARES and are working to get our agency partners registered with 413 CARES. 413 CARES has a search engine that can assist community residents and organizations and help them get connected to resources. Folks can stay connected to us by getting added to our distribution list. Consider sending me an email at ed.caisse@sdh.state.ma.us or calling me at 413-858-0225. As a means to develop closer working relationships with agency representatives, we hold a monthly networking meeting the second Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock. For more information about our work, visit information's on the screen. You can contact me via email or phone. Thank you. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce Amani Harris from the Healing Community Study.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Eddie. My name is Amani Harris. I'm from the Healing Community Study and just want to thank everyone who put this together. And the work that I'm going to be talking about really cannot be done without the partnership and the collaboration across Holyoke to reduce opioid overdose deaths by 40%. So the Healing Community Study is a National Institute of Health and Substance Abuse Mental Health Services effort to reduce opioid overdose deaths by 40% across 67 communities in 4 states, Massachusetts, Ohio, Kentucky, and New York. Now in Massachusetts, Boston Medical Center's research team brings decades of experience treating people with substance use disorders to help end the opioid overdose epidemic in Massachusetts in collaboration with Healing Community Studies grassroots coalitions. And we are committed to bridging the gaps that prevent people with opioid use disorder from accessing quality care and treatment. Now, the Healing Community Study is focusing on the epidemic, and while COVID hit, we were then faced with an epidemic within a pandemic. And so at that time, the 4 states involved in the study were actually allowed to kind of implement and fast-track Narcan distribution across the state for folks who may be at high risk for opioid overdose death. The study is looking at effectiveness and coordination of systems of care designed to first increase the number of individuals receiving medication to opioid use disorder, as well as the, as well as the distribution of Narcan, also known as naloxone, and reducing the high-risk opioid prescribing. Now, the study in Holyoke is working with a community-based organization, and some of which of the folks who are on this call are partners and very strong partners in the Healing Community Study, to work across community-based representatives that fall in the sectors as it relates to healthcare, behavioral healthcare, and the criminal justice system. And these organizations include Tapestry Health, Holyoke Health Center, Holyoke District Court, as well as Holyoke Medical Center, Holyoke Police Department, and others. Now, the work that we've been doing with the Holyoke District Court is to support them in providing access to opioid use disorder to those seeking treatment. We aim to implement the program to engage individuals with opioid use disorder who appear before Holyoke District Court in screening, brief intervention, and referral to behavioral health treatment and or medication for opioid use disorder. The program will be implemented by a multi-sectoral and multi-institutional team that will utilize telehealth and other similar technologies to deliver the services. Now, as the Healing Community Study Coalition continues to strategically plan implementation of this intervention as well as others, we are looking for community members as well as folks who are representing organizations in Holyoke who have a focus on reducing opioid overdose deaths and treating those with an opioid use disorder to be a part of this process. You'll hear more regarding the Healing Community Study and the initiatives as we work with community-based organizations to roll these out. You can, for any more information regarding the Healing Community Study, you can actually go on to Mass Heal Community Studies /Holyoke for more information. And there is also a flyer that someone will display here now that has more information on how to contact us. Thank you for your time. This flyer is actually part of our communications campaign that is being used across the state to let folks know of the services that are going to be rolling out. And this one was stigma. And as you can see, it says, you know, I've never been more than proud. You can support your loved one's recovery. And that's what we're looking to do and working with the organizations and community partners in Holyoke. You can see the website is listed here. And I actually have the pleasure in introducing one of the community partners on the Healing Community Study, Maria Quinn with the Holyoke Medical Center.
Thanks, Amani. I'm Maria Quinn. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner at Holyoke Medical Center. A lot of my work is around addiction and recovery services here at the hospital. So before I get into walking through some of the services that we have here, I really think it's important to mention that this pandemic has really highlighted existing disparities within our community, including for folks with substance use and mental health disorders. During the last several months, myself, along with many other community providers, have watched and heard stories about this already vulnerable population struggle with losing many of their supports and resources. And as a result of this, we've also had to watch and hear stories about individuals who had been in recovery begin to drink again or use drugs again. We've also seen overdose rates remain consistent. And we've also seen an increase in depression and anxiety as well. So now that I've laid out a little bit of what we've been seeing, I'll tell you some of the services that were already existing here at Holyoke Medical Center, but how we've adapted some to meet the current needs of today. We have an outpatient partial hospitalization and intensive outpatient program, which is basically a short-term intensive therapy outpatient program that uses psychotherapy and psychoeducation to support individuals in developing coping strategies to address their current needs. It's also for individuals who have a diagnosis of substance use disorder and mental health diagnosis in supporting their recovery and relapse prevention as well. So this program is currently completely virtual. So exactly what we're doing here today, being held via video. You can self-refer, there's no referral required. I provided the numbers, so they should be brought up at some point. Second, we have an outpatient program called the Comprehensive Care Center, which is where we are currently treating individuals with opioid and alcohol use disorder outpatient. We are open Monday through Friday. We are located in the hospital as well. No referral necessary to come there either. We have walk-in hours from 10 a.m. to noon every day, Monday through Friday. And most of those are in person, but we have also been doing several either via camera or via phone, whatever is most convenient for our patients. And then finally, we have our emergency department, which I'm sure everybody's very familiar with, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for all medical and psychiatric emergencies. But I also want to highlight that this is a place that we've been working really hard to increase access to substance use disorder treatment as well by not only referring folks to treatment like detox or just a listing of outpatient programs. We've also had a opportunity to start individuals on medication while they're there and then provide a warm handoff to our comprehensive care center. And we also currently have a really strong partnership with the Gandara Center and have recovery coaches based out of our emergency department to really help address stigma, I think, and really move things forward. So those are just a few of the things that we are doing here. The information is provided. You can certainly reach out at any time with any questions that you may have. And I will now hand it off to Debbie Flynn Gonzalez, who is the program director for the Peer Recovery Support Center here in Holyoke.
Thank you, Maria. Very appropriate that Maria would introduce me, as we are working closely with her, with our recovery coaches in the ED, and it's been a great collaboration. So I'm happy to be the last speaker today, I believe, and I think it's kind of appropriate as we are Hope for Holyoke. And through this call and this meeting, we can see there is a lot of hope in Holyoke, and I think it's just a great place to work and be because of the great collaborations that happen. I was going to say much of what Maria said. It is a very stressful time for people who are watching there that are in recovery or struggling in their recovery. There are a lot of things on all of our plates right now. We've heard many of it, the court issues and housing and financial insecurity and COVID-19 and the isolation, systemic racism. That is certainly many things that can impact anybody's mental health, and certainly it has impacted the world of recovery. But there is hope, and we are here. The recovery centers, including Hope for Holyoke, are now reopened, and it is being able to take care of some of that isolation that was leading to relapse and the continued struggles of people in recovery or trying to maintain their recovery. Social interaction is a big piece of what we do in peer recovery support centers. And when we were doing virtual services, which we continue to do, a lot of people were missing that. And now those have reopened and are also taking the place of the lack of 12-step support groups that are no longer there or very, very limited. So we are open. We're open quickly Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the morning. There's a morning meeting at 10 o'clock. There are some limitations. You can reserve a spot. You can take a chance and come in. We always reserve space for walk-ins and any individuals needing individual support or seeking treatment. We can help to connect them to detox or whatever level of treatment is best for them. People can come in and use our computer to connect to any virtual services they may need, or to use the phone, to charge up their phones, things of that nature. And right now we're really mobilizing everybody who comes in to be prepared in the event of further closures or quarantine, so that they can access virtual services that they may not have been able to do before. And we're happy to do that. We're also a secondary supplier of Narcan, so we will be able to give that out to any individuals in need of that, as well as family members, and do some education around that. When folks come in, they are greeted by other peers, and there are really great groups and services that can support them at any level of their recovery, whether they're seeking recovery, in early recovery, or in long-term recovery, and really needing the support that we're finding is really necessary right now in these stressful times. You can put up the slide that gives our contact information. I would encourage folks to go to our Facebook page. Or maybe she wasn't going to do that. Maybe I was supposed to do that. Okay, let's see. Let me do that then. I'm going to share that. Oh, yes, she has. Okay, you could put the first slide up. Yes, so this has our Facebook page. You can go onto those. We have like 48 groups that are run Facebook Live or Zoom every week, and anyone can access those. We also have a lot of videos that are available that people can access afterwards, where you can call us and we will respond to calls even if we are not there, as our hours are limited now. The number is right there, 561-1020, and we're located right across the street from the Holyoke Gas and Electric at 100 Suffolk Street. Gandara also has a full range of virtual telehealth services as well, so we can connect people to individual, children, family, mental health services, as well as recovery coaches and recovery coach navigators. So I thank you very much, and I'm just proud to be a member of this great Holyoke community of providers and individuals who work here and live in Holyoke. Thank you.
Before we conclude today, I'm going to pass it off to our program manager for interpreter services, Susana Torres, to talk about how you can get in touch with interpreter services and the trial court helpline should you need any assistance.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here to distribute information regarding an important service such as interpreter services. The Office of Court Interpreter Services was established with the premise that all persons within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, regardless of their literacy or proficiency in the English language, have the right to equal access to the courts and to the services and programming resources available. Our office provides interpreters for over 120 languages. And for these most frequently requested languages such as Spanish, Portuguese, Cape Verdean, Haitian Creole, Arabic, Chinese, Khmer, Russian, Vietnamese, and American Sign Language. Interpreters are available to interpret for attorney-client meetings, court clinic interviews, and in-person and for virtual remote hearings, such as arraignments, probation violations, warrant removals, dangerousness hearings, and mental health evaluations. Our staff is responsible for the trial court's helpline, who the phone number is 1-833-91-COURT or 833-912-6878. Between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30, Monday through Friday, there are Spanish and Portuguese interpreters answering the phones to respond to your questions and offer solutions. There is also information readily available for you on the Mass.gov website regarding interpreting services. And I would like to thank the regional coordinator, Antonio Rodriguez, and the Spanish senior staff interpreter, Enrique McDonald, who has been providing services throughout this conference. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I just want to conclude by, I guess, repeating what I said at the beginning, how excited I am to be working and helping as where I can in this community, mostly because although it's a community with challenges, I've got all these great people who you've heard from today and many more working hard to help their neighbors and strengthen this community and help overcome the challenges it faces. So thank all of you who participated here today. I want to thank Holyoke Media. This will be available for rebroadcast if you missed any of the phone numbers, etc. This will be recorded and you can find them again. And I just want to encourage everybody who's watching or who will watch this to take advantage of these services, to pick up the phone, to email the court, all of these providers, all of these really experts in their fields if you need help or assistance. We all are here to serve the community, to serve you, and particularly in our endemic situation, we all have to work together to help each other. So again, just thank you very much. Now everyone has a good day.